everyone. Today we're doing something a little different, and what we're doing is talking about my top 10 favorite fast food mascots. Why my fast food mascots? Well, each of these guys have personality, and I kind of like each one's personality. They have an individuality characteristic to them that I really enjoy a lot. Now, I'm not going by the taste of the food, and in some ways I kind of will be, but these top 10 choices are going to be fun to make. And yeah, I'm going there, so let's get things started and let's start listing this shit. Top 10 favorite fast food mascots of all time. Let's hit it.
Appears out of nowhere.
Number 10 is the Burger King. Yeah, this guy is kind of creepy looking, and that's kind of the appeal. I mean, this dude is just everywhere. I mean, look at some of the scenes with him in the commercials. I mean, he just shows up out of nowhere. One of my favorite uses with him is in the Simpson Burger King commercials, but that's a whole other thing. This one is more of just that creepy factor, and yeah, I get it. A lot of people don't like this mascot, but he's memorable, and I honestly have some nostalgia about this dude. I personally like the old video game that they did back in the day, back in like the early 2000s to promote Burger King, of the Burger King video game, where you just show up out of nowhere and you give people fucking Burger King burgers. Oh man. It honestly gets me kind of hungry to just write about this, but what the hell. This is a fantastic, memorable logo, and is it over the top? Oh, hell yeah, it's really over the top, and it's creepy looking, but there's not much to his personality. He's just that creepy smiley guy. I mean, you could replace him with the Joker, and that would be good enough. So, he's number 10 on the list. Let's move on and delve into some more personality mascots. Let's hit it.
And provolone.
Number 9, talk about a personality defect, and a lot of personality the Arby oven mitt has. This thing is just creepy looking. Just imagine a talking oven mitt. This is pretty much what you get when you get the old fire extinguisher thing. Not extinguisher, but the fire alarm that Gilbert Gottfried used to do the voice of, and slap an oven mitt on there. Give him the sort of accent and give him an attitude, and you've got the Arby's oven mitt. This was a weird freaking mascot. I mean, what the hell, man? But I'm not gonna lie, I have some fondness and memories for it. I have no idea why, but I kind of like his attitude. He's this tough, no-nonsense oven mitt that hangs on the wall and barks orders at people. Pretty much, they basically copied his identity from Gilbert Gottfried's smoke alarm. Either or, it's still a lot of fun, and I do remember these commercials a lot, and these commercials are like over 2 decades old too, so think about that. If there is some long-lasting memory to it, then yeah, they must have done something right with them. Either way, the only thing that Arby's is really good and well known for is their curly fries. The rest of their food fucking sucks, but their curly fries are always amazing. Too bad there's not an Arby's near my home, but I digress. It's still a fun, little, interesting mascot, but still a weird mascot. There's going to be more personality as we continue going on.
You can just ask him.
Chuck E. Cheese. I mean, what can you say about Chuck E. Cheese other than he is a lot of 80s and 90s kids' biggest deal. I mean, I didn't have a Chuck E. Cheese near me when I was a real little kid. In fact, my state didn't get a Chuck E. Cheese until, like, I was maybe about 16 or 17 years old, and by then the whole Chuck E. Cheese thing wore off. But when I was a kid, my parents, my stepdad used to take me to go see my stepsister, and we would always go to Chuck E. Cheese, so I have a lot of memory with that. Oh, okay, well, enough personal stuff there. Anyway, Chuck E. Cheese was awesome. The commercials were great. You got the Chuck E. Cheese tokens. Man, Chuck E. Cheese had attitude. He was like giving Mickey Mouse a run for his money. I mean, he was like, oh man, I'm like the Mickey Mouse of Bugs Bunny attitude. You don't want to mess with me because I'm like Chuck E. Cheese, and you gotta have good grades to come eat at Chuck E. Cheese. It's kind of an interesting little fun mascot, and I don't know. He still hangs around to this day. I mean, there are all sorts of Chuck E. Cheese stuff. The pizzas taste like chewed up bubble gum, but, you know, it's still really, really cool. And I have a lot of fond memories seeing the commercials as a kid. I used to love this mouse and character. He was basically the Tony the Tiger of coolness when it comes to mascots. Like, you know how Tony the Tiger is like just badass, cool, inspirational. Chuck E. Cheese was the version of Tony the Tiger, but with fast food that's going to sabotage your arteries while you eat it. And I know, because I used to eat a lot of fast food. There was a reason I was almost 270 pounds. But still, it was still a great and fun, colorful, interesting mascot. And that's all I'm going to say.
Wendy's old-fashioned hamburgers, they're cooked to order just for you.
The Wendy's girl. Not really a whole lot to say because they don't actually use her in massive commercials like they used to, but back in the 90s, she was everywhere. She was cool. But yeah, I do know the history of this mascot and that she's actually based on a real person. But still, that face is always very smiley, very inviting, and she does have a very welcoming personality. Even though I'm not a huge fan of Wendy's by any means, I do think that some of their food tastes awful at times. It was still a very interesting mascot with a very nice area. I mean, their Frosty Shakes, now that shit was good. And back in the day, they used to be the cheapest place you could eat with their 5 for $5. I always loved that shit. But man, there really wasn't a whole lot of commercials that defined her personality. In fact, she really didn't have much of a personality until way later on. So, yeah, basically that. She doesn't have much. She's basically a cardboard cutout, but she's very memorable and very inviting, very smiley, and you honestly get this nice little glow about her when you see her on screen or see her on the sides passing by. I know I'm ranking these by personality, but she is the one with the least personality. And yeah, it's blasphemous to rank her over Chuck E. Cheese's, but here we are. And let's go to the next one.
Yo quiero Taco Bell.
The Taco Bell dog is just awesome. I actually used to love this mascot a lot, and when I was a little kid, I wanted a Chihuahua puppy because of this dog, but then I found out what kind of, skittish the Chihuahua puppies actually are, that they piss on you randomly, and yeah. Well, anyway, going back into it, the Chihuahua puppy has actually that attitude again. Very similar to Chuck E. Cheese. He was cool, but also pretty awesome at the same time. I remember having a little stuffed dog that I got from Taco Bell when I was a little kid, and when you pressed his stomach, he would actually sing like Lequero or something. I don't remember exactly what he would sing, but his style was cool. And you could also get him dressed in other clothing, such as like he was wearing like a police hat or something. It's been so long since I had it, but unfortunately they don't use the Taco Bell dog anymore. But his commercials were so memorable and so much fun that you couldn't help but love him. Man, he was a cute dog. He was cute, but he looked different. That's why I liked him. He definitely captured the face of Taco Bell. I love the Taco Bell dog. He is just adorable. I think they don't use him anymore because of stereotyping or something, but shoot, if it's going to get people pissed off over it and they're going to throw a fit about it, then there's something memorable about this character. I really enjoy the way that this dog acts. I like the nervousness and etc. He was kind of a neurotic figure and basically a lot of fun just to see on screen every time. I love the commercials that always featured him. I think I still have my plush puppy I got of him that was a Christmas gift from like my grandma or whatever. So yeah, I have a lot of interesting memories with this dog. He didn't have much of a personality either, other than being like that neurotic version, but cool, of Chuck E. Cheese. But still, let's continue on.
That hamburglar wishes everything he touches would turn to McDonald's cheeseburgers.
Number 5 is Ronald McDonald and the Gang. Now, this is kind of a cheat because, well, I'm using the entire gang, but man, I was a Hamburglar fan. I mean, nowadays we've got the Grimace and the Grimace Purple Shake murders that are going on in the TikTok videos that are fun. But man, there was just something enjoyable about the Ronald McDonald Gang entirely, and I've got to say that I enjoy almost each and every member of it. With Hamburglar being my favorite, I still love all the personalities mesh off these characters. In fact, the gang is so popular, they got their own TV show, sort of. Home release videos, VHSs of the Ronald McDonald Gang, where they inhabit their own world, and Ronald is its own planet or something. Do you know how long it's been since I've watched it? And it's done by Kowski Kupo, you know, the creators of the Rugrats, and As Told by Ginger and Rocket Power. So you know that it was put in with a lot of care and fun. In fact, the music to the tapes of the show is basically the Rugrats music that they added in. Like, there is no difference. They use the exact same theme songs from the Rugrats. But the commercials is where it's at. I like that they're more of a mixture of live action, animation, and a bunch of stuff where they involve the kids. There's a lot of memorable commercials with Ronald McDonald, especially around the holidays, that I really enjoy. I watch these commercials about every year, like Ronald making a snowman, and then him trying to tell a little girl to stay home and not run away to McDonald Land, which, you know, in turn can be a little creepy. But still, it's a lot of fun to just look back on the legacy of Ronald McDonald. This is one of the biggest fast food icons in the world, and people still love and celebrate him to this day. I mean, shit, when they got that friggin' ugly looking Happy Meal with the mouth on it, people were outraged about that shit. People wanted their clown back. Even though nowadays people are freaked out by clowns, thank you Pennywise, people still love Ronald McDonald in some form. I mean, he was used everywhere, as in on commercials, going into schools and talking to kids. Yes, that was a thing. Ronald McDonald talked to kids in school. It was creepy, but still a thing. It happened. He went to my school when I was in kindergarten. It was just interesting. It's kind of weird how nowadays they want to cram fast food items down your throat, but still, Ronald was awesome, cool, laid back, and the gang was all very memorable, with Grimace being a scaredy cat, Hamburglar being a troublemaker, and Birdie being adventurous and fun. I love almost all these characters, and they are all very enjoyable and memorable. Let's go on to a very memorable mascot that nobody has ever forgotten.
And it's got someone back to their old habits.
The Noid. Okay, yeah, the Noid is fucking creepy, but he has never been forgotten. They still sell merchandise of him to date, and in 2020, he resurfaced again. Now, everyone knows the history of the Noid. He likes to stop Domino's pizza from being sent to people's houses, so he tries to freeze them or ruin them in some way. But it's Domino's pizza, everyone. It's already ruined. His job is done. If anything, he's the good guy. I'm kidding. I like Domino's food. I love Domino's food. It's great. But when it comes down to it, the Noid is memorable for a much more tragic reason. A man with the last name of Noid held an entire freaking Domino's pizza chain hostage, wanting to get paid to use his name. And for a while, they canceled the Noid out and didn't use him for promotional stuff for a long time. But yet, in the early to mid 2000s, they still sold shirts with the Noid on it because of this guy whose last name was Noid. And yeah, it was kind of a crazy time back in the 80s and 90s. And it's amazing how much the Noid's legacy has finally let this resurface again. I remember in 2020 when I saw a commercial of the Noid, I thought, what the hell, this is kind of cool. This is awesome. We get to see the Noid in full form. And then I remembered why they took the Noid off. But still, this character is a lot of fun. I just love how insane and crazy that this guy is. He's a nutcase. And how he wants to destroy pizza just because is just fantastic. He is so popular that they actually made a video game about him. As long as they don't do something out of taste where he's holding a Domino's pizza hostage, we should be fine. And I apologize for that terrible joke. But still, he is a very memorable, enjoyable mascot, despite his very creepy looking design. Let's go to the next ones.
Get to pick? Then come to Dairy Queen for a DQ Kids picnic. Pick the food you like to eat. Pick a cool DQ treat.
Number 3 is Dennis the Menace from Dairy Queen. Yep. Way in the 80s and 90s, mainly the 90s, Dennis the Menace was a fast food mascot. And I have no idea why they used him and why they discontinued him, but he was everywhere in Dairy Queen. They started airing the TV show and the cartoon back in the 90s, and I think this had a lot to do with the 93 movie and Dennis the Menace Strikes Again. Dairy Queen had him everywhere. There was a Dennis the Menace popsicle that you could eat, much like the Snoopies that Dairy Queen only had. He was on so much promotional stuff. When you got a Dairy Queen kids meal, he was all over the bag. And what can I say? It did make me actually like Dennis the Menace. It made me want to watch Dennis the Menace movies and the cartoon show from the 80s and 90s. I actually enjoy this mascot. Now, this is showing a time where the 90s was trying to put their character mascots on about anything. And I have no idea where they got the idea to basically put Dennis the Menace on everything. I'm just going with the kind of coolness and nostalgia of why this character is just there. And he's great. I really love this mascot and how enjoyable he really is. Just something about it makes you wonder just why. Why was Dennis the Menace actually used as a mascot for Dairy Queen itself? I mean, Dairy Queen and a cartoon show really doesn't go hand in hand with one another, but you had to be there in the 90s to see it work. And me, I was there in the 90s, and for some reason it worked. I love Dennis the Menace. I even like the movies Dennis the Menace, like I just said. And this is my opinion. I think a lot of this had to do with the 93 movie release, and then later on, way down the line, they did Dennis the Menace Strikes Again, and they just kind of kept Dennis going until about 2003, I think, was the last time I got to see Dennis the Menace on anything. He was on Pogs, he was on kids meals, he was on kid cones or whatever the hell. He was even on the damn Blizzard cups. That's how that much Dairy Queen pumped in to use Dennis the Menace. And it's just kind of cool. A lot of people don't remember this, but honestly, I do. And it's one of those influences that kind of just was so odd that it worked. I never forgot it. Even though people have, I myself never did, and he's worthy of the number 3 spot. Let's go to number 2.
Ooh, good thing sharks don't like pepperoni.
You're telling me.
See you next time.
Number 2 is Pizza Head. Yeah, I know I did a retrospective on Pizza Head a couple years ago, almost like 2 or 3 years ago, and that's one of my more popular videos on commercial retrospectives. And Pizza Head was very memorable. I don't think anyone actually ever forgot him either. There are so many YouTube uploads and etc. But it was interesting to watch. Basically, this Mr. Bill style pizza is being tortured to death while his commercial is going, and it's having kids eat pizza. It's just a very huge pinnacle of the 90s. It went from the early 90s all the way to like 98, and it was a long-lasting thing. I mean, I never forgot the Pizza Head show. I mean, it still rings in my mind to this day, and it pretty much made a lot of 90s kids a sadist, if you think about it. We're watching this thing be tortured in this Mr. Bill style thing, and it does stick in our mind. It's very, very memorable. Oh no, kind of. It's just great. And the reason it's similar to Mr. Bill, which I already went over in my retrospective, is because, well, honestly, the creator of Mr. Bill created these commercials. So, there you go. It's very memorable, and even more so memorable than Mr. Bill. Like, I have people that I brought over to the house that have watched Mr. Bill with me, and they said, this reminds me of the Pizza Head commercials. And I'm like, that's because they are so similar that it is so uncanny on how much fun it is. But still, I love the Pizza Head commercials. They have always lasted in my mind forever. But there is a reason that he's at number 2. The number 1 mascot has an ultimate mix of badass personality and coolness to him. So let's go to number 1.
Their places won't let you do that. And hey, if I'm saying something that's not true, do something about it.
Number 1 is Jack from the Jack in the Box. Talk about a whole thing of cool. Jack in the Box was so fucking badass. He was not afraid to tell McDonald's off. He was not afraid to tell Burger King off. He was the ultimate badass mascot. His design looks cool even. I mean, it's a very simple design, but it's a dude basically with a Jack in the Box head. That's all there is to it. It's a very simple and memorable design. I never forgot it. And I've only eaten a Jack in the Box maybe 3 times in my life. But these commercials, I never forgot. They are so badass. One of my favorites being where he insults Burger King flat out saying, oh, well, you're sending us our old nasty food from England and warmed up stuff, and you guys just don't want it fresh. Well, call us in this many times, and we'll set a timer, and that's that. Jack in the Box was just one of the most regular badasses of the fast food industry. He was the clownish of the Ronald McDonald phases, but he was the badass when it came to being the badass, say, similar to like Chucky from Chuck E. Cheese's. He just had everything down. He was brutal. He was cool. He was hip, and he had a whole lot of attitude that could not be messed with. You know, he could insult other industries. I remember him insulting Wendy's and McDonald's, saying how icky their food was. It says, if you want the freshest and best food, you've got to come to me. You guys want it? You got it. The Jack in the Box is just so freaking badass. Every time I'm in Farmington, Missouri, I have to stop there and eat at that Jack in the Box. At least get a shake there, because their food is actually pretty damn good. They have anything, any kind of combos you want too. Tacos, burgers, curly fries, buffalo wings, you name it, they freaking got it. And the Jack in the Box is not too much of an asshole that he isn't afraid to sling his own badass menu at people. Why go to one place when you can get anything you want at our place? That is what you call a badassery right there. My heart belongs to White Castle, of course, but my soul and personality belongs to the Jack from the Jack in the Box. No one could ever be as badass as Jack. So if you think that any other mascot is better than Jack, you don't know Jack. Anyhow, he is worthy of being number one for being full of personality, memorable, and his commercials are enjoyable every time he's on screen. Every time. There is not a boring commercial with Jack. He is just the ultimate Chad of the fast food industry. He kicks so much ass that he is the bad Jack. Anyhow, that about does it for this video. It was a little bit different for me to make this, so voila. This was a lot of fun to make. I actually enjoyed making this video quite a bit. I like food, and I'm a guy that likes fast food, and a guy that likes to eat. I mean, hell, I earn the right to get to eat what I want now. So, what the hell? After doing so many workouts a day, if I want to have a day where I want to splurge on fast food, that's what I want to do. Yeah. So, what do you guys think? Who is your favorite fast food mascot? Leave it down in the comments. Do you think this video was a little silly to make? Probably. But I was going to take a break of talking about anime or movies or TV shows in general and just do something fresh. And I thought, what the hell? Might as well do something a little fun. Anyhow, thanks for watching. If you guys got any other fun suggestions for next month, tell me in the comments. Always remember, I'm listening.
Hello, this is Corey Feldman. Welcome to my studio here in Los Angeles, California. And I just wanted to pop in to say congratulations to Tim. Mr. Tim, I hope everybody's enjoying your videos. He's got some great content, and if you're enjoying his content, make sure you click on that little button right there that says subscribe. Why? Because everything on his channel is Bossa Nova. That's right. Congratulations on your channel, Mr. Tim. I'll be following you, and I know everybody else will too.